Now from WATN, it's Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Well, welcome to Local 24 This Week. I'm Katina Rankin. Richard is off this week, and we're here to give you the real story behind the big stories, now twice on Sundays at 9 a.m. and again at 10:35 p.m., making it easier for you to catch up on what's been going on. And this week, well, lots of news to break down for you. On the local level, Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland got tired of waiting for his Memphis 3.0 plan to be approved, so he signed an executive order. And on the state level, a scandal at the Tennessee Capitol. At least 9 Republican lawmakers are now calling on House Speaker Glen Casada to step down. Also, a Tennessee execution. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee did not issue a stay of execution for convicted killer and Memphis minister Don Johnson. And we begin with my colleague and Local 24 senior investigative reporter Jenny DiPrizio, who witnessed Don Johnson's execution Thursday. Jenny, I want you to take us through this experience. You know, some are concerned about the controversial 3-drug cocktail, and they actually say it causes pain so severe that it's torture. But tell me your observations.
Obviously, I've never experienced this before, so I can only go by what I saw. I can tell you that the attorney for Don Johnson believes her client was tortured, and that he felt it. Something was going on, I can tell you that. I mean, something was going on. They brought us into the room, and it was kind of like you would imagine in a movie. A curtain lifted up, and at that point, Don Johnson was on a gurney, and they gave him the drugs. And you could hear him breathing. It was like I don't know if it was a gasp. It was like gasping or gurgling back and forth. It was a very awkward sound. The experts say that means he could feel what was going on.
Mm-hmm. So look, I want to stop you, and I want you to take me from the very beginning. So you're in this room. So did they bring him in, walk him in? Was he already on the gurney? Explain to me how he looked.
He was brought in. He was already on the gurney. We didn't see that part. At the point that the curtain was lifted, he was already laying on the gurney. He was strapped down completely. I had straps all over his body, and his hands were actually wrapped up in like athletic tape. So they were taped like this shut, so he couldn't move his hands or anything. And he was literally just laying there on the gurney, and the IV was already in his arm.
So when he got in the room, from that point, what happened? Because I heard that he actually started singing a little bit. Is that true? Yeah, actually, he sang before, as he was being wheeled into the room, he sang. But at that point, we didn't know who that was. I had assumed that it was him. But we could hear singing going on. And then what happened was the warden asked if he wanted to give any last words. He did. He said a lot. It was very hard to hear him because he's very soft-spoken. And so you could hear him talking. It was very prayerful. He talked about wanting to make sure, he prayed that his life had been meaningful. He prayed to forgive people, but you'd hear bits and pieces. When that ended, they administered the one drug, and he at that point asked the warden if he could sing. So he started singing church hymns. And so at about this, after the second church hymn, it kind of trailed off. Okay, so that's what you saw as a reporter. Mm-hmm. Now I want you to take that reporter's hat off.
Oh, that's hard.
Because you're human.
Yeah.
You are a person. What was it like to experience that?
That's a real good question. I've had my reporter hat on this whole time, you know.
Let's yank the veil off.
Yank the veil off. It's interesting to see how a state can execute somebody, essentially. I mean, I'm told that on his death certificate, it will say homicide, just as if somebody was shot by an intruder, you know, any other homicide. So it says homicide. I witnessed a homicide, essentially, done by the state.
As a person, were you nervous? Were you anxious? I mean, what were you feeling as all of this was happening?
I actually thought it was going to be worse than what it was. And that's because I had read a lot about how these can go wrong. So I was anticipating it being worse. So I kind of walked out of there feeling better because he seemed to be, in terms of his praying and his singing, he seemed to be himself at peace with what was going on. He wasn't angry. And though there were concerns about how the actual drug protocol went down, I thought it was going to be more vicious possibly than it was.
To piggyback off what you said, I heard that in those final remarks that he prayed for forgiveness, as you mentioned, for his executioners who he said, quote, know not what they do. Of course, quoting the last words of Jesus in the Bible. And then he went on to say, I pray that my life has meant something and that I commend my life into your hands. Thy will be done. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. And then that's when he began singing the hymnals.
Correct.
And also what I found very interesting is that the lyrics to the hymn that he was singing, and those who go to church will actually know this hymn, was no more crying there, we are going to see the King. No more dying there, we are going to see the King.
And when his voice actually trailed off, it was on the dying their phrase, yeah, which was very interesting.
Do you think it's important for journalists to actually view these types of executions?
Now that I've been through one, I actually do. I do, because if things had gone horribly wrong, we would have been there. There actually was a journalist in the room who'd witnessed 2 other executions, and those executions were done with the drugs that were used prior. So when this ended, the curtains came up, and she was just aghast because she was like, "Oh my, I've never seen this happen before." Because there's been controversy over the 3-drug option that's being used now. She said under the prior executions that she saw, that didn't happen. They were simply administered the drug. And they passed on, versus all this wheezing and the gurgling and things. So, that right there validated that for me.
Thank you so much for giving us your observation. We're glad that you're back home, and we're actually going to talk to a pastor about how he feels and whether the death penalty is actually needed, coming up a little later. That's in our roundtable. Next on Local 24 this week, the big story behind sex, texts, and racism. From Memphis to Nashville, we dig deep into the issues. Stay with us.
Everyone who has ever lived has lived here. All of mankind's triumphs and failures. Every moment, every hometown, all here. We start our coverage on the ground and take it to the airwaves, so you always know what's happening in your own world and beyond. We are free TV and radio. We are breaking news. We are always there. We are broadcasters.
All right, boys, time for bed. Listen to your mom, knuckleheads. Hand them over.
Hand what over?
Video games, whatever you got.
Let's go. You can watch videos of people playing video games in the morning.
Is that everything? I can see who's online.
I'm gonna sweep the sofa fort. Well, look what I found.
Take control of your Wi-Fi with Xfinity XFi.
Let's roll.
Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Get started with Xfinity Internet and TV for $40 a month for 12 months. Plus, upgrade to get more than double the speed. Click, call, or visit a store today.
You may be dealing with migraines. Many new options are being researched to help prevent these types of headaches. Call Dr. Laura McGill at CNS Healthcare to see if one of the new options available are right for you. Someone is available now to take your call and schedule an appointment right away. As always, our services are completely free. Call 901-843-1045 before the next headache strikes.
We love living local, celebrating 200 years of Memphis with an official birthday bash. Live from Tomley Park with the first ever drone show and the most spectacular fireworks display the Mid-South has ever seen. Join Richard Ransom, Katina Rankin, and the Local 24 News team as we celebrate Memphis. Saturday at 8 p.m. right here only on Local 24.
You're watching Local 24 this week with Richard Ransom.
Well, welcome Welcome back to Local 24 this week, and joining us at the round table is community activist Reverend Kenneth Whalum and Local 24 news reporter Mike Matthews. Thank you both for being here. We're going to go ahead and jump right into these hot topics. And first up, let's talk about Memphis 3.0, and it sort of piggybacks off our last segment, and it's talking about growing Memphis. A lot of controversy surrounding Memphis 3.0. The mayor went ahead, signed an executive order to move things through, but then there's a group that is saying that 3.0 looks over a certain population here in Memphis. Correct or incorrect?
I say, what else is new? When you see the mayor staging, like he's in the White House, a signing ceremony with all the people standing behind all the cameras, it is nothing more than a political stunt to generate income to help his campaign. But what the lawsuit says is absolutely right. It does not take into account the specific needs of the poorest communities in Memphis. And let me add one more thing. If the mayor wanted to address the needs of those communities, he would do it. Why do we need a comprehensive plan to help specific neighborhoods? I think it's unfortunate.
And how do you feel about building up instead of out?
Well, building up is a good thing. It depends on who gets the benefit of it. Building out is not a bad thing, especially with all the pockets of poverty and poor housing that we have within throwing distance of downtown. So building out is a misnomer as far as I'm concerned. Building up in North Memphis is not a bad thing, and that's walking distance from City Hall.
What say you, Mike?
Well, you know, building out, their argument is they cannot afford now to pay for all the infrastructure, the sewage, sidewalks, streetlights, things that always go into neighborhoods that have been annexed. Those are the things you can promise, even though you can go through plenty of places in this city, in Hickory Hill even, where there are no sidewalks and there are no streetlights, and they've been annexed for more than 20 years now. But still, that's what their argument is. Bringing it all in is supposed to save money, to bring it up there, you know, to move it up there. And as far as the neighborhoods are concerned, I don't know. I think that most neighborhoods in this city, especially the poor neighborhoods, don't get the same. I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to realize, no, they don't get, you know, equal slices of the pie. They don't. They never have. Everything that you have in Whitehaven or North Memphis or New Chicago, they got to fight for that, okay? And that's used to be city council members who argued all the time. Midtown gets it. They don't even have to ask for it. We got to go fight for it all the time. So the bottom line on all this, though, is that they don't have, you know, City Council has to pass 3.0, and they've had these plans before, and they die on the vine.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Listen, I know it's Sunday, but we're going to go there. We're talking sex, we're talking text, and we're talking racism. We're headed to the state capitol. Glenn Cassida, all the controversy surrounding him. Should he step down?
Boy, should he ever step down? I don't even know. The fact that we were even discussing this, the fact that there's a question about this is almost obscene. The guy ran a horrible year where it was dictatorial at times, locking legislators into the chambers, telling state troopers to get into, you know, to physically force legislators to sit back down. Just ask G.A. Hardaway about that, for example. Now, this guy, the Republican Party is in the supermajority. They're going to get their things done anyway without Glenn Cassida. They don't need Glenn Cassida, and Glenn Cassida should do the right thing and step down. I don't think he will.
What do you think, Reverend Whalum?
Well, his Republican colleagues are deserting him like a rat jumping off a sinking ship. The Black Caucus has met and demanded his resignation, but let me be the gadfly that I always am, and let me say that I do not think he should immediately resign.
Why is that?
Because if he is truly apologetic, truly sorry for being a racist in the past and being a sexist in the past, well, prove it to us by forming legislation, by passing legislation, by supporting legislation which proves that you are no longer a racist, no longer a sexist. Well, like what? Well, what about millions of dollars for public education in the urban areas of the state? What about legislation that equalizes pay for men and women across the board in the state of Tennessee? Well, that would prove to me that you're not a racist or a sexist anymore.
Well, let's talk about this PAC and the information that we learned about that his PAC was supporting someone without actually identifying themselves as that, who was really scrutinizing women and saying that they were whining. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and that ad that came out?
Yeah, and I mean, again, you know, this stuff, when you put it all together, there's no way in the world that this guy should be serving in the public interest. He's not serving in the public interest. He's serving in his own interest right now.
And Mike, let me say, forgive me, let me say that you're absolutely right. It's despicable. It is ridiculous, but I think it's typical of a whole lot of his colleagues, white and black, and they represent the worst of the worst.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
So really quickly, in his defense, let me just say this. He did issue a statement saying that he is confident the more that they have, talking about his colleagues, the actual facts before them, the better, because, you know, there's this closed-door meeting that's coming up next week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if that's the case, I mean, then Nashville would be imitating Washington.
That's what I meant when I said his colleagues, his Republican colleagues, are deserting him like rats leaping from a sinking ship, because they understand that when you get all this kind of bright light on any issue in politics, it's going to make it bad for them. Please don't misunderstand me. Everything he said, I believe he's a racist. I believe he's a sexist, but no more of the apologies. Prove to us that you're sorry. Prove to us that you're different now. You can do it easily.
What about our Republicans here and them not saying anything? They've basically been numb as a word.
Now, that doesn't surprise me at all. I have found over the years the Shelby County Legislative Delegation at one time, when I first came here 20 years ago, was one of the strongest legislative delegations in the state of Tennessee. They spoke out, they spoke up. And say what you want about Senator John Ford, he did get stuff done. Now, you had to deal with John Ford, but he got stuff done, and that's why people voted for him. The delegation is not the same. The delegation is split itself. That they're not speaking up just shows what lack of courage they have.
Okay, listen, we really could do an entire hour on these topics, but there's a lot more to unpack behind the big stories this week. And when we come back, we're talking power, as in your power source, energy bill, and power. As in Governor Lee saying, clemency denied. Local 24 this week, and our roundtable talks continue right after this break.
It's the Great Outdoor Sale at Family Leisure.
Enjoy quality and comfort outdoors in a new patio set, shad height to bar height, and everything in between. This 4-piece collection only $7.99. Check out our huge selection of umbrellas, bases, and covers. Chase lounges starting at $99. Entertain in style with a beautiful outdoor kitchen. Fire pit starting at $99. Grill like a pro with the highest quality grills, smokers, and accessories. These great products also on sale now.
The Great Outdoor Sale going on now at Family Leisure. Family and fun come together.
The Mercedes-Benz of tomorrow will transform not just the automobile, but mobility itself. An autonomous thinking vehicle protecting those inside and out. And it's the Mercedes-Benz of today that will help us get there. The 2019 E-Class, with innovations that will change the way we drive from this day forward. Lease the E300 sedan for $549 a month at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Starring musical headliners Lucero and Al Capone. A free day-long celebration with Memphis food, crafts, activities, and exhibits. Help us set a world record for the world's largest community picnic. Witness Memphis's first ever drone light show and the city's largest fireworks show, lighting up the Mississippi. Memphis's birthday celebration, Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, May 25th in Chomley Park, Memphis.
The family vacation. The ones you don't just remember, but replay over and over again. When your heart skipped a beat, soul filled with melody, and eyes open to the wonders of the world. A trip that not only defines a summer, but defines a family. It's a reunion that can only be made in Tennessee. Start planning at tnvacation.com.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Well, welcome back to Local 24 This Week. You know, it's Sunday, so let's talk about redemption and, of course, execution. And I'm talking about the execution of Don Johnson. Reverend Whalum, I'm going to start with you because Johnson, a killer-turned-minister. Do you think that the governor should have granted him clemency?
I don't think so. I think that part of the Christian faith, the Judeo-Christian faith, is this notion of consequences, this notion of taking responsibility for your actions, this notion of submitting to higher authorities, and Christians don't have a problem observing that universal law. So no, I don't think the governor should have intervened, and I think it's a little naive of certain evangelicals and others to say that he should have, or to be angry with him for not doing so.
I see you shaking your head, Mike. You agree?
I do. I personally, I don't think the death penalty works, but those in favor of the death penalty say it works for that individual, and it does. And there are crimes in this that have been committed in this country, in Memphis and all across the country, that are so terrible, so heinous, atrocities, the likes of which even the sickest of mind can't conceive. What are you going to do with those people? Those are the folks. It's like the Oklahoma City bombing. Well, if the death penalty was made for anybody, it was made for that guy. And it's the same thing here. I don't happen to like it, but I think sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Do you both believe in the death penalty?
Go ahead.
I do, but I also believe in forgiveness. And so, you know, there have been instances where family members of a murder victim have asked that the suspect or the criminal person, the one that did the act, be forgiven and not be executed. That's the beauty of the Christian faith as far as I'm concerned. I do believe in it, but I'm not surprised or disappointed when anybody says, no, don't do it. Let's forgive them. Let's let them live their lives.
Mike?
I think you got to follow the law. That's all. The law says there's a death penalty. The law says certain crimes are covered under the death penalty. That's it. I don't happen to like it. There's a lot of laws I don't like. What are you going to do? You follow them. Or else you end up in the joint and maybe on death row. So that's, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
You know, I want to talk about this too, because we know that journalists are invited in to watch, and a part of that is because of transparency, to make sure that nothing goes wrong. But do you feel it's a little inhumane to be able to have to sit and watch someone die? It takes me back to, you know, my grandparents and watching lynchings and how it was a public gathering and people could watch. What are your feelings on that?
I have often thought about that, and I would never wish to get that assignment. If I were a reporter and they told me I had to go and witness an execution, I don't know if I'd quit or not. I think I might consider very strongly turning in my resignation. I can't imagine somebody having to do that against their will. Now, there are a lot of sadistic people out here who like that kind of thing, so you could probably find some reporters a lot of places that'd be happy about it, you know, be eating popcorn while it was going on. But no, I couldn't do it.
You can find a lot of reporters who want to cover it and they're interested in it. I've never been interested in covering it. I've thought about it only as far as a story assignment is concerned. If I've been assigned to cover it, okay, then I'm going to cover it. Am I going to like it? No. Now, in these executions, what's interesting is prison authorities, since they've changed the chemical compounds that are used here, strap these guys in to a gurney and strap them tight, because when the human is starting to die and the body is starting to lose its stuff, convulsions will set in. It'll shake, it'll jerk, and they don't want people to see that. If you're going to show me death, show me death. Show me everything. Show me what happens. Show me how ugly it can be. Show me how a person maybe suffers. Show me it all. I want to see all of that. Don't sanitize it.
Wow.
And from that perspective, that might, I repeat, it might serve as a deterrent for some young person who's considering a life of crime, but somehow I doubt it. I don't think that a person observing that will say, well, I better not go steal this car, I better not. It's one of those unfortunate realities of life in the United States especially, that we just have to deal with. It's a truth that we can't explain away, but that we just have to try to live lives that obviate the need for the death penalty.
I want to switch just a little bit, and I want to talk about Lamy, the judge, posting those anti-Semitic and hate-filled posts on his social media. Do you think he should have been censured?
Oh, I think he should have been censured, and I think as well that whatever the governing body is for judges, which as I understand it is different from the Board of Professional Responsibility, which governs the behavior and activity of attorneys, I think whatever the governing body is, especially given the evidence in this particular situation, should at least discipline him in some form. But again, it goes back to what I said about Quesada. and Lammy, as I've heard, says that those views don't represent the way he really feels, and okay, fine. If that's the case, do something publicly which demonstrates that you are not a racist, that you are not a sexist.
I believe he said something to the effect that it's character assassination at its best.
He's also the one who said, I have a lot of Latin American friends. I have some that have done a really good job on my roof. He has said more since the information has come out that's, I think, hurt him than just the information itself. I think he needs to be censured.
I tell you one thing, I would not want to be a lawyer arguing a case in front of him. I would immediately begin to file whatever motions I need to file to have my case removed from that courtroom.
Can he judge fairly?
I don't know. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to chance it. Like the Reverend said, if I'm a lawyer, no way. I don't want, especially if I have a Latin American person. No, I don't want to be in front of him because the questions alone are enough to keep you out of there because you might not get fair treatment.
Reverend Whalum, do you think he can judge fairly?
Well, it depends on who he's judging. Now, if I'm a lawyer who's representing a member of the KKK or representing some other horrible organization, I'm filing motions in other courtrooms to get to Judge Lammy's courtroom because that's just the way the system works. But no, I would hope that I wouldn't have to have a case argued in front of him that depended on my being black or my being a Baptist or, you know what I mean? It's just, again, it's very unfortunate.
Listen, we have about 40 seconds left, so I'm going to give you each about 20 seconds to tell me what we should look ahead to in this upcoming week. Any big news stories, because you both have your hands on the pulse of the city that we should be looking out for?
City Council meets this week, and while their regular agenda looks somewhat okay, they're going to have to make a decision pretty soon on Memphis 3.0. They haven't voted on it yet. Now that the mayor has done his executive order, council still controls the money. Let's see what they do this week.
Reverend Whalum?
Well, let me make some news and say that I think there's going to be some very exciting proposals and changes in the air with regard to our school system.
Really? Can you share more? I got about 15 seconds
I'll ask
for that.
a question. Why isn't the school system in Memphis named Memphis? And that's how I'll leave it.
Okay, I'm going to look forward to that. Thank you both for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Okay. Final thoughts when we come back, so stay right there.
Did you know Comcast Business goes beyond fast with a gig speed network, complete internet reliability, advanced voice solutions, Wi-Fi to keep everyone connected, video monitoring. That's huge. Did you guys know we did all this stuff?
No.
I'm not even done yet.
Wow.
Business TV, cloud apps, and support.
Comcast Business goes beyond AT&T. Start with fast, reliable internet for just $49.95 a month.
It's everything a small business owner needs.
Comcast Business, beyond fast.
With all this deliciousness. Like the crispy chicken, 4 nuggets, and the new bacon cheeseburger melt. Get more for your dollar at Wendy's today.
Elegance Vodka is the luxurious lifestyle you could invest in now. This is your chance to invest and be a part of a $1 trillion industry that's growing every year. Be a part of this thriving industry. Patron Tequila sold for $5.1 billion. Casamigos Tequila in just 4 years sold for $1 billion. Did you invest in any of them? Then why wait any longer? Elegance Vodka is launching worldwide. Call the number on your screen now to invest.
3 things Oprah would say and how she'd say them.
I love you, Reese. You're so amazing. I like you more than Ellen.
All new Ellen, Reese Witherspoon.
That's not even how she'd say it. I love you, Reese.
Watch Ellen, Monday at 4 on Local 24. We love living local, celebrating 200 years of Memphis with an official birthday bash. Live from Tomley Park with the first ever drone show and the most spectacular fireworks display the Mid-South has ever seen. Join Richard Ransom, Katina Rankin, and the Local 24 News team as we celebrate Memphis. Saturday at 8 p.m. right here only on Local 24.
Well, thank you for joining us for this edition of Local 24 this week. And remember, we want to hear from you. You can email Richard at rransom@localmemphis.com for topic ideas or to sound off. He'll be back next week. I'm Katina Rankin. Thank you for joining me. A drunk driver.